Doop, doop. Yep, there it goes. What's up, everybody?
Oh, what's up, everybody? It's Fat Jesus Live.
We got Damien back here with us, or with me this time, and with us now with Fat Jesus Live. And this time, this discussion is going to be more about you said how to do
Basically,
research,
how I do research in a free
Yes.
way, because I mean, you can buy expensive books and read, for days. But how does someone who kind of doesn't know go investigate something you want? That's really so. What
This
I
is the
put here is
man right here. This is the guy. This is the one we want to hear. This is the guy I always wanted to hear about. Everybody, listen to this guy right now. This is what we've been waiting for. Go on, Damien. Go ahead.
Right on. So we had talked already twice about Africa and about age of African deities, and I talked about DNA and these cultures, and I wanted to show like how did I get into this? How do you go from not knowing anything and quickly start to understand? So one of the things that I do whenever I want to understand a area of the world, what I think is what is the biggest, in a sense, ethnic group or indigenous group for that area, because that gives me an idea of what, because if it's the biggest, it's possible that it's historically current, but it also could be that it is prehistoric in the fact that it's always been bigger. But it allows me to get a basis on their ideas, and thus maybe, because see, if a group is indigenous and is bigger, it's likely they have less influence from the outside. If it's a really, really small group, its ideas can be easily influenced. So it just is a basic thinking I have. Because like I said, all of my stuff, I always then go investigate. I'm just saying I start with the assumption. I want to know what's the biggest, and that's what I did for in a sense for Africa. I go, what's the biggest, right? What's indigenous? And it says the Haza, right? So I take that group and I go, well, I don't know anything about them. So I go and do a search on them. Who are these people, right? And so then I go to these people. And then the first thing for me personally, remember, I'm trying to understand religion and gods. So the first thing I want to understand is what is their language? Just a few things. What is their language? What is their DNA? What is their religion? Because this helps me understand how they're connected possibly in a wider sphere of thinking. And so I go and I look down and I just read real quick, what are their language? So I'll go check out what's their language, right? And then I go, oh, okay, so it's Afro-Asiatic and it relates to Chadic. Okay, so it starts to give me, and I look on what's Chadic, right? And so it shows me the area they're in. That biggest green spot I already know from looking. That's them. That's these people. And Chad is that little blue thing in a sense, in the middle right there. So it allows me to kind of get a grasp on where we're talking about. And then also it helps me understand too is what region of Africa it is, or region of the world I'm looking in. So, okay, so I understand it looks like it's a lot in Niger, even though in a sense, Chad is more in a different, in a sense, country. See right there, it shows who the group is. And you notice it's big compared to everyone else. And this also, as we already looked, this is the biggest indigenous group in Africa in general. So it gives us an idea. So and the fact that it's Afro-Asiatic is important because Afro-Asiatic also relates to Egyptian and also relates to Semitic. I already know a lot of this stuff, but I'm just saying if I didn't know, I would be able to look here and I would understand, oh, okay, in the Berbers, which is in North Africa, and Chadic, which is in that south central part, and Kushite, which the Kushite language, the Kushite languages are more down in the Horn of Africa. All these are related. That's what these subdivisions. So that tells me, and here's a big map of, in a sense, of all of them together. And it tells me that basically, if you can see, it's pretty much North Africa. So before I go do more about them, I want to real quick go look at North Africa. And there's a I'll go ahead and change my thing.
So this is West Africa, right?
Well, it's all of North Africa. It is west and east. It's even in the I'll show you though. Genetic history of North Africa. So North Africa is that whole area, right? It's from the Sahara. It's all the way down.
You know, it's interesting you bring up Wikipedia, because I say this all the time, and I will keep saying this. Wikipedia, a lot of people say, don't trust it. Anybody can modify, blah, 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 blah. That is in a way, true. If you do modify something and somebody has to fix it and they keep reporting you, then you lose your rights eventually. Not everybody gets the right to do it. It was a time when it was much more open than that. I remember, because I actually had an account where I can go in there and change it. I actually have done that myself, corrected some stuff. But it's interesting you bring up Wikipedia, because it's important. First, just like you said, you cannot expect anyone on this planet to have read every single piece of information on one subject. There's too much stuff out there. I said this a long time ago. There's not one book out there that's going to give you a lot of information on what you want. You're going to have to dig deep. Now, you mentioning and saying that this show is mostly about being free. That's absolutely true. I've spent thousands of dollars on books. I try to buy a few books every month, 2 or 3, 4 books. Sometimes I splurge and buy 10 books. That's been known to happen. And I read them. I only have maybe like 2 or 3 books. No, 4 books that I haven't read yet, because I just bought some more. Yeah, I keep all my books.
Where do you put them?
I got 2 libraries, one in my studio right here, and one in
you
the
hold him
room.
back? I need to come visit you. Jeez.
I feel like, and my kids have books too. I just feel like, I used to spend my money on video games, so I used to have a lot of video games. Now I took that video game, things that I used to do, and started buying books. But when GTA 6 comes out, I'm going to be playing that. But anyway,
we're gonna lose you on GTA 6.
Nah, you're not going to lose me, but I'm definitely going to be enjoying that. But it's interesting, like I said, because of the simple fact that Wikipedia might not be the best source for everything, but it is the backbone of, or at least I could say the foundation of going to where you can start your research for free. It's very easy, because when you go to the bottom of it, scroll all the way to the bottom, it gives you sources to where everything is at. Like when I'm looking at it right now, everything that's I think it's in blue, colored.
You can click on it and go deeper.
Those are links.
Yeah, you can go deeper. And then you can also ask ChatGPT. Then you can go type in there. Another good way, if you don't have money to buy books, is get these books out. That's in the archive.gov website. I believe it is.
Well, this is before AI. So Wikipedia was around before AI. You were the AI. So you were clicking on these links, and you were going in the deep rabbit hole yourself.
Yeah, AI just compiles it up to you for you in one chance. But yeah, go ahead, Damien.
But that's what I was saying. So this is the way that how I start to research. So I knew that the things I was looking at, the group I was looking at, is part of the larger North Africa. So I just wanted to show that. So what I do is go and look at, well, what's involved in North Africa, and like it says here. The Neolithic, from 7,500 onwards, there was Northwest African farmers are from the European Neolithic and from Antnola and the Levant, which is like the Middle East and Israel. And so it helps me understand what, like I showed you, what's going on. And we know that eDNA is a big one in North Africa, as you see here. But there's other DNAs that are in the area. See, it says R1B, J1, J2, H, F, I, I2. I and I2 are real big in Europe.
One of my favorite websites for haplogroups is Upedia or Epedia.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
We'll go to there also because it helps.
You
Because
use
what
that
that
one
does
too?
is take some of this sort of like just random data and puts it more like in an explanation, which I also do like. And so, and there's more R1 going in than just R1B, which is normally what people say. And then also J1 to me went in early. But so this is important. So you go down to get to the DNAs that they list, right? Go all the way down here. And it's going to give a list of the different lineages. Like, see here, it says like the female lineages. It's talking about here, which is age. That's Europe, probably Europe, Africa, Europe, Africa, maybe Middle East, Africa. All of these are Africa. All these every one of these are Africa. But I mean, you normally, if you didn't know this, you'd go look and West Asia. You look on each one, and you start to understand what I'm talking about. But I already know this, so I don't have to. And I'm just trying to give you the general understanding. You would have to look up, and I did look up every single thing to figure out what's going on.
Are they going backwards? Do they start from modern, going backwards when they do all this DNA?
Well, I'm trying to understand what you're asking on this. Or in general, like understanding. Like,
basically, I'm not too much of a believer in evolution because I don't think we really come from apes. I don't see myself as a monkey jumping around. We are a
branch of them 7 million years ago. So supposedly. It's different than saying that they're not. And chimpanzees and apes branched off of also, and orangutans branched off first, but it's all different branches.
That's the thing that confuses me. I think people get evolution confused because Darwin doesn't necessarily say we come from apes. He specifically says that we're related to them.
Yeah, we're related.
Now nobody ever asked him. Nobody
again. He left it open. That's what he did.
No.
But he's also not the source of current science.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's the other thing I was going to say. The information that he used, because people base evolution based off of what Darwin says, but evolution has changed. He used what he could. He was a boots on ground. He's actually the guy that motivated me to do boots on ground because he went to places and actually observed hours of information. That's how he got his information. He didn't just go sit in a studio or a room or something like that and just wrote what he thought. He was out there trucking it all day long, walking and visiting places and literally hours and hours of watching things. So he would.
I'm going to go ahead and share this picture I just did. This is, you're asking about what DNA do we know? So what's the current understanding in a sense, and it can get refined because, like I was saying before about hitting it like a target. Sometimes you're close doesn't mean you're 100%. But so basically in North Africa, all humans haplogroups originate. The female, which is MT, is L. So L was the original 320,000 years ago. That's what the KYA.
Yeah, that's the oldest Homo sapiens out there.
Correct. Yep. And then the male was AOA1. And then it says it goes 300,000 goes down to central, Africa, 300,000, and it's still just female L, but this time it's male AOO, and then it goes down to South Africa, in about 230,000 years ago. This also is why it's real hard when people sometimes they'll say, well, humans, came from East Africa. Yeah. A lot of times what they forget is it's the last common ancestor. And really they're talking about last common ancestor outside of Africa.
Yeah.
More than Africa itself, because Africa has older DNA than people that left.
Yeah.
So that also is why it can be confusing. But
the Croatian tribe, the Sand people, they have older DNA.
Right. Well, and so going back to I was saying, so that you can see though, it's already, this one has two groups because they have L1 and L0, and they have male group A1 and they have male group B, and the Hazai people and the Khoisan have B, which is old, male wise, and then it shows that then we left Africa. This is also where people don't understand about haplogroup E. Haplogroup E is in Africa, but first it went to the Middle East as DE and then came back to Africa about 100,000 or 80,000 years ago in splits. D goes all the way to Japan, but E stays in Africa. But then it also goes out again at 22,000 years ago into the Middle East. Then it goes out again into the Middle East 10,000 years ago, but also then goes to Europe 10,000. Then E goes again at 5,000 in the Middle East and then to Europe. So, I mean, but anyways, but the haplogroups are important because it helps you get like a granular, detailed level. So I'm going to show you another one. This is what generally when people say, you know, I'll show you the thing about them coming back. So this is the one about it coming back, and that's when you get haplogroup E. And
that's where and I'm just going to say that's where the racist people like to say the into Africa theory, because they want to say I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
But if you're honest person, you'll notice that the yellow, which is all those people, are kind of both in the Middle East and Africa. So in a sense, they never fully left Africa.
Well, they say that the Middle East is actually part of Africa.
Well, right. And I'm saying in this sense, DNA wise, it's one, the yellow color is a group. So the group kind of, some of them left Africa and some came back, but their range of a hunting or whatever movements was in that whole area. So that's also why some people don't say they left Africa, because in a sense, some of them never did, and they're same group. So
is there a connection to Madagascar with these groups?
Madagascar people probably may have started going there 8,000 to 9,000, but the real about 3,500 or so is when people from basically Indonesia area go all the way across and populate Madagascar. So Madagascar may have had some in a sense, those Austronesians, pre-Austronesian DNA. But when you think of populating it itself, it's really Austronesian first, later people with eDNA then go over there. I think it's 1,500 or 2,000 or something. They go over there and now they're a big population also. But so that to me, Madagascar isn't, I don't really consider that in the scheme of things, because all of it, even the first people that show up from Africa, it's like 8,000-9,000. That's way young. These are like, thousands of years. That's like, nothing.
I always had like a theory that Madagascar was like Wakanda. It's so isolationist. Like they're isolated from Africa, so they don't get attacked as much from all the other countries, and they're not in the middle of everything like France. You know how France was in the middle of everything? They always get attacked by all the other countries. They're kind of off to the side, and they.
Well, I would say that Madagascar got taken over and became one of the biggest producers of vanilla in the world. But anyways, awesome. I want to go back to the other stuff I'm talking about.
and that's the thing, that the main thing was trade. All these countries kept coming back. Wasn't it just because of trade overall in general?
Well, Africa was plundered. I don't like the word trade, because trade would mean that Africans had a hand in the wealth when it was absolutely colonial, domination.
You heard that, everybody. That's wild.
Yeah, I'm no favor. I'm an anarchist, so I hate any kind of domination and oppression of anybody. So I'm no lover of freaking racists at all.
Yeah,
So I hate them.
that's
And I
wild.
think racism
That's
is a
what
blight
happened
to
in
our
Africa,
humanity.
and that's like thousands and thousands of years ago, and it continues to be that way even today, right?
You mean racism? Yeah, hell yes.
Oh no, plundering
Oh,
of
plundering, yes.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and often also they use it as an excuse. Oh, this place that we plundered, these people we stole, oppressed, and enslaved. Oh, look at their country's not doing good. Well, you literally did everything possible to denigrate them, destroy them, oppress them, and then you're acting like you didn't do anything wrong, and that they just are inherently something wrong with them. It's disgusting to me. I don't know why it's not doesn't it show up here. Yeah.
And these are
Yeah,
the
it's. I'm trying to show you the thing. So here it's you see the different DNA. This is showing like the DNA and the ages, right? That they found this DNA.
Mhm.
So if we see here, and this is North Africa, by the way, Morocco, like it says. And these people are one of the major first cultures in a sense of North Africa. And it tells the time 15,000 to 13,000. And it shows you what DNA it was. It's eDNA, and then eDNA, and then eDNA, and eDNA, and eDNA. So this culture is letting you know it's one haplogroup, and this haplogroup is at least 80,000 years old in Africa. Wow. So anyways, I'm just saying, so it helps you understand like the connections. So this G2, this is not African. And it shows up in Morocco, which is the same place this other culture before was.
Is that from the north?
Yeah, Morocco, yes.
Mm-hmm. The G is from the north?
Oh, no, yeah, well, G is from, here, I'll show you. So we go to G, right? And G, it's like where, you see where the black is? Like in the Cossack Mountains? That's the origin, in a sense, probably of G. Somewhere in that mountain area. And everything else gray is
really far away.
Yeah.
Dude, that's mountainous terrain. I looked all over in that area. That's Austria area too. You have to pass
Austria
and all that.
Central Europe. This is
oh yeah, that's right.
It's above if you go from the Sumerians and you almost go straight up, you'd hit them. Yeah, in a sense. But
that's a long distance though.
It is a long distance, yeah, and it's portrayed. So it shows you though that they got into Morocco, which is North Africa, but it's northwestern North Africa. So here, I'll go ahead and do a map so that we can.
Either it was a large group or somebody.
Well, it doesn't mean it's a large group. Well, no, that I don't know that. That's a total different thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and share this other screen. Yeah, that's a good question. I appreciate your questions. So let's see here. We'll do this so you can see what we're talking about, where Morocco is. So you see where it says Azerbaijan and Georgia on this map? Do you see it?
I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. It's right there on the
That's
top.
basically the area that this DNA probably comes from.
Oh, wow.
And it made it through, and it went through Syria, through Israel, Jordan, whatever this area, through Egypt, through Libya, through Tanzania, through Algeria, into Morocco. So probably
did they go by foot, maybe by boat, maybe I don't know.
Could have gone by either, and it also it's possible since that pottery also went across from Turkey to the Minoan Crete, which Crete is this little island right here.
Mm-hmm. Did they have the same
from there, and it went to Greece, and then it went. I'm talking about this pottery. Pottery went both ways. It went south and north in a sense. Cardamom pottery. There's a pottery from somewhere in the Middle East, maybe Israel or somewhere over there, Jordan. And it went across Italy, went to these islands, Sardinia, and it went to Spain, which it could have got to Morocco through Spain.
All right, Spain.
So it could have, as you said, could have been boats and then came down, because we know that also did happen. So it's yeah. So, and let's say you didn't know, right? We could go look up what that pottery is, and then it also helps to understand. Like I said,
maybe that's their expertise. Their expertise was, sailing. That was their main job. They learned how to navigate on boats, and they were with whoever the captain was on doing trades. So they were moving around a lot, back and forth.
Right. So like I said, if we didn't know, we could go look up where that stuff moved, and then we could click on it, and we could find out see how it went to Spain. So and then this map right here shows, and when it says 5th millennium BCE, that's like 7,000 years ago. And so all these things, in a sense, oops, that's too big.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Anyway,
Rebirth. We have your eye is on the screen. Oh, there we go.
I don't know why it kept, for some odd reason, it just kicked me. When he brings it off, he well,
because I have to switch.
Yeah, he has to switch.
It didn't go to where I went.
Bro, look at the pottery on this. This is nice.
Right, that's the pottery that we were talking about that relates to that DNA.
That old pottery always fascinates me.
Right, and so see here's the thing that talks about that pottery. Did come up.
The reason why it fascinates me, because every pottery is unique to a different culture. Like pottery in South America is different from the pottery in Greece, in Italy, anywhere that pottery is made. It's like a certain artisan makes them, and it's like a fingerprint, and it's so cool. It's so amazing. Thank you for bringing that up too.
Right. And so I was trying to say, though, is I'll get out of it. That I was trying to say, though, is that relates to what that genetics is talking about, that G2 people.
Nice.
So I'm saying, but I got, you would have to just keep doing different research to investigate stuff. But let's go back to, that one. But it allows you to, like I said, we went and searched it. So we find out that the pottery, which is talking about pottery, and then it says proto beaker, that's a different type of pottery. And then it's telling you that pottery is with a different DNA. So it says the cardinal pottery was with G2 and with E. So it shows that it came in with the G2, and then the younger, 100 years younger, or up to a few hundred years younger, the other one, it transferred to the people in North Africa. And see how it says here G2 European?
This is 6,000 years ago, right? Or
6,000. Well, 7,300. The people that were eDNA were associated with this pottery.
Is it
so? Yes, was it a big amount of people? I probably not, because the dispersal is not huge even today. But they could have been taken out by other waves of people. But
can I ask
already
a
shows though they came
question?
in and gave pottery, and the people that were indigenous North Africans started making it. But then it shows here that Morocco gets another DNA. See, it says 6,700.
Yeah.
Which is right after the other one, which is tDNA. And so you look at tDNA, that's showing how I do the research. And tDNA shows a whole bunch of stuff in Africa.
Yes.
And so if I look at it here, it tells me it comes from a similar area over here of somewhere around Iraq or Turkey. And then it goes into says Sahara pastoralists. So it's telling me the other people were doing pottery and probably farming, the G2. And this is telling me these people are mainly doing animals like goats, sheep, cows. In pastoralism, it has religion stuff connected to it. And it says 9,000 BP, which is like and it has a minus sign, which means sometime after 9,000. That's what that's kind of saying. 9,000 years ago. BP means before present. Why they don't just put years ago on stuff? It is beyond me. I always write years ago because they'll put KY, T, or they'll put BP, and I don't understand why they make stuff so complicated. But this right here is showing you how it relates to how it went down into the DNA for right next to
you forgot it, huh?
I'm trying to think. Egypt, excuse me. So it shows you went to Egypt, and it shows you when that DNA was found in a mummy. So that it was found in a mummy that had this tDNA at 2,700 years ago. So which is CSS just says 700 BPE. Well, that's before Common Era. So you have to add 2,000 years always to whatever that says. But anyways, then it shows here down here, it got 800 CE. So that's after Common Era. So you take 800 minus whatever we are now, 2026, and then you would know how old that DNA moved there. And see, it also went down to different places. See, South Africa by 3,000 years ago, or to South Kushite. And then it says South Africa 2,000 years ago. It goes down. So this helps you understand like how and when it's moving around. And it says it was in the Sahara 5,000 years ago. So it just helps you to, and we already know that in Morocco, oops, like this is saying 4,000 BCE. So you add 2,000 to that. So 6,000 years ago, it was in that DNA, in that area. And then it's 3,700 BCE. So add 2,000, 5,700 years ago. It's just showing you the different ones. See, and here's the oldest of this area, which is 4,700 BCE. So you add 2,000. So it's 6,700 years ago. It was in this, which that is what that one thing was talking about.
That's close to what everybody talks about.
6,700.
Yep.
Right? So it shows that the map is matching what Wikipedia is saying, these people. And this is saying what kind of pottery they had. This is saying where they came from. Anyways, or where they relate to. So you see that it was still there, but now it's CT, and CT is African in a sense. As if you look at CT, you see here, CT is African. So it shows too that the T people brought it in. You're asking before about how do we tell, how big something is? Well, I can see that eventually people really and it says Europe. I don't know why it says this, but CT is African related. Some people left, but I don't know if it means
it's the same thing with the Cro-Magnon, bro. They say that they call that the early European species.
Yeah, hunter-gatherers, when those people were Africans that just left. Yeah, anyways. But so what in the H is not unknown. Let's go to H. I don't know why it says unknown. Look at where H is. H is definitely from India.
My question is, with the DNA, all this DNA that they gather, doesn't it degrade through time? This is my question always on any DNA. Does it degrade through time? I mean, some people
some
say
DNA does. I mean,
okay,
you can get DNA. I don't remember the oldest, but it's like a couple million or something. They can get. It just depends.
Wow.
Depends on how
it's preserved.
Like sometimes they can, very rarely, but sometimes they can even get skin or scales from a dinosaur. That doesn't mean they always do. They usually don't. So same thing with DNA, and that's also like you said about how big an impact something was, or how many people came. I don't know. Science doesn't know exactly because we need more data. We just know here's these things, here's when they probably came in, here's what they were related with. It's sometimes, if you found tons of them, but they haven't found tons of them. And that's like someone said before, oh, Damien, you're talking about these things coming into Africa, but these were small. Okay, maybe they were. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they brought new ideas in. That's a fact.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The further back you go, the less you're going to find.
Right. And what I'm trying to show too is even if it's true they brought ideas in, then Africans started doing it. So it became no longer just these people somehow being in control of these, new technologies. Africans took it and then evolved it themselves. So it's not like they came and they conquered and built this whole empire or something. No, that's not what happened. And that's not what I'm saying. In fact, I think the exact opposite.
We had some people on the podcast came in and said, well, the Sahara Desert, that's where Atlantis was. Do you think that's possible?
No, I no. Well, first off, I don't agree with Atlantis anyways, but so I made a map that shows what I was talking about. I'll go ahead and share it because I try to explain my ideas a little bit more succinct in a sense for people.
You're more of a realist than some people.
Oh yeah, I'm totally a realist. Yeah, I care about what is true, what we can prove to be true, and then try to build what I think happened from that in a sense. So we do know that cattle, pigs. This doesn't show it, but there was also, I'll show you another one. There was also goat and sheep that were domesticated up in that same area of Turkey and Iran. I think I have. Well, this right here shows cattle coming in to from the Middle East. This next picture. This shows the red is, in a sense, the cattle coming in. And you see it was through more than one way. And then when it came in, then it changed because also Africa, up in North Africa, then beyond just the cattle that were given to them, in a sense, they domesticated a indigenous cattle in North Africa. So like they got the idea, and once again, like I was saying before, it wasn't like the people came in, gave them technology, and then they just kept technology. They advanced it. They're like, oh, that's a great idea. Look at this cow here. We're going to go ahead and domesticate it. And so it also shows to me, it's not just that, like, because see, someone racist or someone could say, oh, well, all the ideas are from outside. Every time an African culture got ideas from outside, it advanced it itself. So it also shows the impetus of them to make their, new things. Anyways, going back to the other picture that I have. Yeah. So the Noma Playa in a sense, southern Egypt is an important site because it's actually the first complex cattle cult, probably relating to either the T or the R DNA, even though they themselves were E. So they got ideas and then formed them themselves, sort of. It's not like the other people came in and just took over and did stuff. The ideas start coming in, and then they evolved into this new kind of cattle cult. And Noma Playa is important because Egypt, a lot of its ideas, especially about cows, really comes from this area. And so since probably most people, have not heard of it, we're going to go to the Wikipedia and go look at what's Noma Playa. Because we're going to assume, in a sense, like I like to do, that we don't know. We only know because we go research. So
oh yeah, I'm bringing it up. What the heck? What? There we go. that's the one that see a lot of people don't know about that. See, everybody talks about Göbekli Tepe and all this other stuff, but they forget about places like this, and they even forget about Adam's calendar or Enki's calendar. But I'm not going to talk about that. This one right here is very particular important to me because of the simple fact that this one is a calendar in Africa, and if you look at this, this is no longer there. They actually took these stones down and moved them to a museum. So just imagine how many of these.
What?
Yeah, they took it down because of
right, and there's like 30 structures that got built.
Why?
In that area.
Why would they do that? That's supposed.
Well, I mean, you got
to
to think about it. You got to think about it. When people get mad about that kind of stuff, but you also have to remember it's better to preserve it in a museum anyway, because the elements will eventually mess it up. And not only that,
put a roof over it, right?
No, see, that's the thing. You have to maintain it there. Put a roof over it. Just put it in a museum. But my point is you put a roof over it, you're deceiving the purpose anyway, because it's a calendar. It's supposed to be astronomical. So putting a roof over it would deceive the purpose anyway. But my point is that
right, and the site starts like 9,000.
Yeah,
which is you add 2,000 to this number. Whenever you see BC or BCE, you add 2,000. So it's 9,500 years ago. And it tells you, if you read all this stuff, where it started and what they think about it. But also, we see here late in the 7th millennium. And so 7th millennium, you have to add 2. So that's 9,000 to 8,000. Because when it says millennium, what it means is a span of time. So it's from the beginning, which is 9, to the next millennium, which is 8. So it's 9 to 8,000 years ago, goats and sheep show up. And goats and sheep originate up in Turkey. So that goes back to the ideas are coming from, these domesticated animals are coming from up in the thing. That's already telling you sometime between 9 and 8. Which that other tDNA I showed you said 9,000 years ago, they believe it came in. And they were pastoralists with goats and sheep.
Can we say Noah's Ark?
And so, and then, but also what it tells you too is, see over here, it says 6, but you add 2. So 6, 7, 8,800. It was also making pottery locally. So like I was telling you.
They put GPS on the sheep so they could track it? Gee whiz.
So like I was telling you, that what it says by saying making pottery locally means that the idea of pottery I already talked about comes in earlier, but then it shows that Africans are making their own pottery locally.
Yeah.
So like I said, once again, it's not just this, because one of the things people think is that other people had to give you the technology and then you just copied it because you're too dumb to know. This shows that's not true. They're given these ideas and then they run with them. They go beyond just what was given to them, in a sense, or what was helped. So, and you see here's another one. There's a bunch of different structures. But they also are showing the stuff they found and their types of first pottery.
You know, that makes me wonder that it could be like the same group of people that went around the world and they had to do astronomical coordinates. Wherever they went, they would put them in certain locations and they would do they would figure out where Saturn was or Jupiter was, and they would do it in certain parts of the planet so they get accurate readings, mathematical readings. And those areas are so important, man.
This is how I would say it. The DNA moved different ways and then gave ideas to just like the pottery. So it's not that they knew, like you said, Saturn. It's not, they looked at planets as moving stars or living beings. That's why they become deities in a sense. And they felt like there's a saying in paganism, as above, so below. So they believed that whatever this is, because they felt that was heaven, and there's all kinds of stuff that shows that. They felt, and they also thought it was water up there, that space was water. How do we know that? It rains. Water just falls from the sky.
I never thought about that.
And a lot of the mythology, which I also think the original mythology of water, which we're going to address. We're going to get to that too on the mythology website and show you how to look into that. So it's either called primordial waters. Well, I'll just go to, instead of just talking about it, I'll go and a lot of times it's also called cosmic water.
Yeah, why you're doing that? That's a perfect sense that a lot of people don't really understand it. Is they say how do people think, or why do people think there's water in space? Well, if you look at it from an archaic version, from somebody who doesn't have a scientific understanding of how water, can be in the sky, you would automatically think when it's raining, well, obviously it's coming from somewhere, so it's coming from space somewhere, right?
Right. I think it's not right. I don't think it's some magical thing.
Yeah.
I think it's logical almost. If you didn't understand.
Yeah, if you didn't understand, if you didn't have the scientific background.
You see stars moving around and planets and the moon, everything's moving around. It would be like it's floating.
And not only that, just to go back to what Fat Jesus said, you also got to remember, Fat Jesus, everybody started off with agriculture. That's what came with civilization. So everybody was looking at the sky. Sky was what everybody's looking at today when they
the
look
moon.
At the yeah. So it's not like one group of people traveled the world. Is just like Damien said, everybody brought ideas together. And that's how we expanded. And the ideas is what made us where we're at today. Keeping it separated is what kept us in the savage lifestyle we was living in the beginning.
Right. And so we're going to go to the mythology website that's free also to explain this. But cosmic water, now these are just people's terms. And also, like, I think cosmic water or cosmic ocean and sea are more common in, say, Hinduism, where primordial waters is more common in the Middle East. In some other places, it's celestial river, which also sometimes celestial river means the Milky Way. But these are world motifs. Like the whole world has this stuff, and it's because there was a belief that, like I was saying, that space itself was the essence, in a sense, before creation. Even the Bible talks about this. The Bible talks about before. Like when it says in Genesis, right? It talks about that the stuff is created, but there's no sun till like the third day. But so which, if you didn't understand other world mythologies, you'd be like, oh, that's weird. It's not weird. It literally almost everywhere in the world says that the beginning was darkness and chaos and primordial water, which the Bible says too, because the Bible says that the Spirit of the Lord flew over the waters of the deep. This is before land or before humans or animals are created, and which is also in world mythology, where it talks about the primordial water is what happens first, and then out of that comes land, which in different, just to go back into that, right? So in African, or I should say Egyptian, excuse me, go back. So in Egyptian,
I was thinking about a movie, Stargate. You know how it became so popular when you go through the Stargate, it looks like water.
Right, correct. And so I'm going to go to another one and show you, just so you can get on the same page as understanding people that are, and then how I do this. I do this, of course, I'm doing it fast, but I did this by researching and looking up all these things. And then I start to see the pattern. So ancient Egyptian religion, right? And one of the things that they have in common, because there's different polytheism and stuff, many deities, but their stuff, I think it's, see, look at this right here. This statue of a person holding his groin is, as here it says, it's 5,300 years old. This right here is much older. So I'll show you a picture from Turkey that I did. So I think that's the first supreme deity, which relates to Orion, the constellation Orion. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but so The one on top is Turkey. When they first Göbekli Tepe is first in the sequence of this thing. So Göbekli Tepe is made, and Göbekli Tepe is kind of like Neville Corey, except it's a circle, but it has these T pillars, and the ones in the center have hands like they're people. They also have like a little dog or a fox or something on the side, like they're going together. Mm-hmm. Anyways, then the next time Neville Corey builds one, it's likely they put a statue of a man holding his penis in a place of worship in that thing. Then those people then relate probably to the T and R that go into Africa. Well, they go into Israel also. 9,500 to 7,000, they start kind of like in normal playa. They start building these stone things. And this one right here, I think could be a supreme deity. It's basically showing 6 other deities that are smaller, and it's got one big one in the middle. And then it's hard to see, but there's a little piece of copper as like an offering to this big deity. And copper is often associated with the goddess and mountains. That copper chemically comes from Turkey. So it's not unreasonable to assume that, like I was trying to explain, that these ideas are moving from Turkey to Israel, and then from Israel are moving into Africa. And that's why this stuff is somewhat similar. The stuff, even in Turkey, right? So everyone always thinks of the T pillars, but the T pillars were not the only kind of pillars in a sense that were made in Turkey. Just the oldest ones that were made, as they got younger, they actually changed to more simple pillars, even straight pillars, which to me is important because what leaves there is basically straight pillars. So places in Europe start getting straight pillars, and so does Israel. Here's one of Israel that's old. So this is, once again, has a circle of stones. This actually is in the water now. It's off the coast because the sea level rose, whatever. But in the middle of it is this stone that's like an altar, and they were used to be water in that, like a little basin, so it looked like the stone is floating. And so that's like, to me, I think they're explaining the cosmic waters in the first land, in a sense. Which, like I said, I want to go back to Egypt and their mythology, in a sense, so we can understand.
You brought up the Samaritans as well, right?
Sumerians, yeah, the Sumerians are a branch of the people that were in what do you call it? A branch of the people that were in basically the people from the Cossack Mountains down to Iraq, and also a little bit from people from Iran, and also people from Turkey, and probably people from Syria.
Are they still in existence, or are they're?
Well, Marsh Arabs are, in a sense, considered the closest to those people that were Sumerians. But
are they extinct now, or are they around?
From? Yeah, no. What Marsh Arabs are the closest. So what he's saying is that those are the closest you'll get to them. So you won't have. It's just like saying the indigenous people of Puerto Rico or something. You have their bloodline. It's just that group of people don't live no more. Just like the Mayans and Olmecs.
Correct.
They're still their bloodline. You can trace it, but
the culture itself is gone.
Yeah, the culture itself is gone.
Right.
So you did this one right here, right? Hold on. Why isn't it coming?
Maybe
up?
I was thinking about the Samaritans in Israel. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah. They're getting people from Turkey to replenish their culture. That's what I heard.
Well, yeah. It's like I was showing you with the people that went on my map where I showed you. Go back to that. Well, I'll show you.
That's the one you just took off, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it back on.
And it's normal that cultures mix and intermingle, and
here's a different one. This one here
crazy about the extinction of cultures, and
so this shows like different people coming in into Africa or moving around, and what times and stuff that happen. So the ones in blue are people coming from the Middle East in a sense, which is what I was talking about. And then the one in green has to do with Europe itself. And the ones in yellow are later times, or younger. And it's talking about the people from Africa going into Europe, and then people from, in a sense, North Africa or Egypt going south. But the brown ones are people, in a sense, prehistoric people that are sub-Saharan Africans going into the Sahara. Anyway, so it's that whole North Africa is a melting pot of a lot of stuff going on in general. But like I was trying to say, it's important to understand. I'm trying to simplify it for you that
that must have been a hard travel to go through the Sahara Desert.
Well, it was green. It wasn't a Sahara Desert.
Oh, really? So at one time it was green. Well, so it was.
Well, I have one of the green Sahara. The green Sahara was definitely different.
Get the hell out of here! That's news for me. Tell us more, please.
Yeah, so there's cycles of how the Earth shifts, like the poles or whatever. And when I don't remember now exactly off the top of my head. I think it's every 20,000 or years or something. I'm not an expert at that, but when the poles shift or whatever, it then starts raining like massively in the Sahara. It gets lakes, it gets grass, and for a while, and then it shifts again, and then it goes back to desert. It's done this a few times. It's not like it happened only once.
But somebody else is going to suffer, right? Like somebody's going to get bad weather somewhere,
multiple ways. Whenever Africa is a desert, then in a sense, the Americas, like South America, gets rain. When South America doesn't get rain, that's because Africa is getting it. But one of the reasons is rain is caused by dust particles that get into the sky and become heavy in the water and bring it down, in a sense. So when Africa's a desert, dust blows off the Sahara into the sky and goes towards the Americas, and then it makes it rain. Because it also, if South America has deserts also, like in Peru or whatever. It's desertous. It shouldn't be as raining as it is. The reason it's raining is because Africa's dry. When Africa goes wet again, which it will eventually get turned wet again, then South America will dry out. Anyways, this right here is
that would be shitty if the Amazon jungle became a desert. That would screw us all up, because that's like the last lung on the earth. Next thing you know, it'll start all over in Africa, but that's going to take forever to be a new.
Right, it'll be grass first. It won't be trees. I agree. Yeah,
we screwed ourselves up.
Yeah,
we screwed ourselves over.
Good. Go ahead and go to that one for the Green Sahara. I said. No, not that one. The other one.
We chopped the trees up all over the earth, thinking that the Amazon was the last place on earth.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, right, I had like 3 of them on there.
So in the top right-hand corner, one side is the Green Sahara when it was not a desert.
That's beautiful. Look at that.
And that's 7,000 years ago. Look at all those lakes and huge lakes. So when people came in and brought in cattle, they could survive up there, no problem, because there's lots of places to live. There's lots of grass for the animals to eat. So it's very, very conducive to humans. Now it's like a death zone. So it's very unconducive to humans. But that's present day. So, and then also one of an 8,500-year-old boat was found in Lake Chaddock, which is showing you that they had boats and were using them in the lake because it was so huge. It's like it's like the Great Lakes, like a sea, not like a little. Now it's like nothing, which I also show on my other picture. But so real quick. So when the people come in, they come in a time when it's very conducive to people moving around. And I show here that the first stuff comes in is J1, but it doesn't, like you said about how many people, I don't know. It didn't have a very big impact, so it probably wasn't that many people, but they did bring ideas. And then also, which is not shown on here, then our DNA comes into that white area. That white area is Chadic, which we already talked about at the beginning. The Hassan is one of the biggest, in a sense, ethnic groups of all Africa. That's that white circle. And so those ideas in that white circle showing they influenced every religion where the white arrows went. So the Yoruba, the Cameroon, which later becomes the Bantu, which goes all the way down to the Zulu in South Africa and all over Africa, especially from central and down. And that it also, if you see here, it says it went over towards both Egypt and Nubia. So the ideas from these people go over towards Egypt. Egypt got ideas from the Middle East in more than one way. One of the ways was it went to African cultures, changed, became more Africanized, and then they go to Nubia and up into Egypt. But Egypt, not Nubia, Egypt gets more stuff 6,000 years ago to 5,000 from Mesopotamia or Sumerians. So that's also why Egypt as a culture is a little different than the rest of Africa. Because even though it starts, in a sense, sort of similar stuff, it keeps getting newer and younger ideas of religion and stuff. So it matches the Middle East more than the rest of Africa does, because they had chance thousands of years to make it their own. So but that's also why, if you see, multiple arrows go to West Africa. Most of West Africa, whether it's the Vodum, which becomes voodoo in both Haiti and Louisiana, or the Yoruba religion, which is Candomblé, Santeria, and Venezuela spiritualism.
Yeah, they got a lot.
Right. They're all related to Yoruba specifically, which is, there's three circles here, these purple circles. So the middle purple circle is basically the Yoruba, and the voodoo, whatever, Vodum, is the ones on both sides of it almost. And just north of that is what's that?
You said voodoo.
Well, it's Vodum.
Voodoo. Yeah, I know. But you said voodoo the first time. I was like thinking Haiti or something like that. But no, you said voodoo.
Well,
you corrected yourself.
Though. The Haiti's Vodum becomes Louisiana's voodoo. They are related.
No kidding. It's the same thing. Okay, I didn't hear.
Well,
I didn't hear you wrong.
I wouldn't say same thing, but it's a similar thing. And so I'm just saying to you, we know that the one that's the closest to the continent of Africa, not the one sticking out, but the one that's closest, that little purple area, that is where Vodum comes from, which then becomes Haitian Vodum, which then Haitians go to Louisiana, and it changes the name to voodoo, even though they basically practice a religion very similar, because the name of their supreme god matches the people in that part of Africa. It's the same name, but it's also the same name as the Yoruba religion, because probably it relates to the actual Chadic, that main white circle. This goes back to what I was saying. So the one in these other ones, right, the deity starts with an O. Funny thing is, that white circle, the deity starts with an O. And in fact, that deity, I went and looked up just to, excuse me. So we're gonna go to my blog, because I have it on my blog.
Let's go.
On supreme deities. So, right. To help you understand. So the supreme deities, you see it? Yeah, good.
Oh.
So this is my art. These deities are Yoruba deities, or also called Orishas. But these aren't like the ultimate ones. These are just ones I just did for the heck of it. And I show who they are. That has to do with, sacred bonds of stability, the hunt and forest animals, wealth, the spirit of rivers and oceans, water deity. But anyways, the Yoruba religion, here's right here. See, it's a hierarchical one. It starts with Orudum or Odumer, which is their supreme creator of the universe, supreme deity, or supreme being. And it's genderless, does not have a gender. So and we're not going to read all what it is exactly. And I have a bunch of stuff. You can read this blog yourself. But and then like I was talking about how in Africa, diaspora, the people that were in a sense taken from those areas that I've talked about, this shows that the Yoruba related, from African religions into the Americas. And it shows these different ones. And I put links so that way you can click it if you wanted to read more on each one. And then also in West Africa, the Vodum becomes voodoo. And it shows it's in Haitian and in Louisiana voodoo. So, but you see it's a different people. But it's all, to me, West African, which, like I said, it's important to understand the names, right? So, and this is a video, not mine. This is I don't think this is that bad of a video. I added it. I don't agree with every single thing they said, but I do agree that it is one sort of supreme source. All African religions are sort of like this similar basis. This is not.
Hey, it's funny you say that because in Freemasonry, it's a belief in one God, and you can go to a lodge and you'll see the Bible there, but they don't discriminate from having a Quran or any other Bible. It's just whichever is chosen for that lodge, I guess. But 9 times out of 10 you'll see the Holy Bible, but there's nothing wrong with other ones, basically, and their belief is just one God. And I can say right now, from my research of all I've done so far between mythologies and religion, every one of them points to one God. The Doggone tribe goes one God. Right. I've even read books from people like Dolores Cannon who are into who were in extraterrestrials and stuff like that, and they even say the extraterrestrials believe in one God. So everything points to just one source, one creator, one supreme being, or whatever it is. And that's funny that you say that about Africa, because you can see that it's the same way with that too. It just falls on the different names, and sometimes depending on their new journey throughout their life, they'll be worshipped for different things. It's no different than when Abram went to Abraham, when his name changed,
Right.
It's a title. It's a title.
And also to understand, this is like also other world religions. It's not like Africa is totally different. Like you said, not only about a supreme being, but the supreme being's nature. So the nature of the supreme being is also like Native Americans, and Native Americans like the Great Spirit, where it also isn't something they directly worship. They don't worship the supreme being. They worship messengers of the supreme being, in a sense, or sort of. But which is like I said, it also is very similar to in Hinduism, where Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita says that the supreme being or personality head is Krishna, like Hare Krishna's Krishna, and that every other deity is just a lesser form of Krishna. But how Krishna presents himself in the world, that's very similar sort of to the African stuff, where it's like everything else is just part of or related to the supreme being. So it's kind of like monotheism and not, because it's got more stuff, but yet all that really relates, as you said, like to the one supreme source. To understand it, it's almost like, and it talks about in that video, which I kind of agree, it says like a prism, where light goes into the prism as one thing and then splits into all these colors, but it's all from the light. Or a rainbow shimmers from the light into all these pieces, and yet it's really just the light, in a sense, all one thing represented in different ways. So I agree with that thinking. And so to me also, this picture right here is my thought of the Hazai people, which are B2. And that's right next to where it says YMRCA. And what that means, YMRCA, is the Y DNA, or male haplogroup, which we already talked about, the different ones. And most recent common ancestor, in other words, that's the DNA that went out from Africa into the rest of the world, all relates to that one area. And that one near Lake Victoria. And those people in that one area make this little doll out of like clay or mud. I call it a mud baby. Reason that just because they make it when a woman is going to have a baby, they make it beforehand, and they don't.
The doggone tribe does that too.
Yeah, and they don't consider right. So, I'm saying is, I don't know if that's why Europe ends up making all these dolls. Could be actually an African source for why they're doing it. I don't know, but I do know that once it goes up there, then there's this type of art in Europe that seems to be multiple things, but yet one being. And then it goes to Russia and it becomes a male and female, goes to Siberia as a male and female, goes back to the Middle East 11,000 years ago as a male and female. And there is sky gods and earth mothers, or sky fathers and sky mothers, all over the world. It's beyond the supreme being. Although often the sky deity is the sun and is the supreme being, or at least relates in some way. But there's the art on the Göbekli Tepe pillars is showing, I feel, like religious motifs. And to me, birds relate to the spirits and the afterlife. In fact, one of the birds is on top of a guy's, skull in a sense. And then the T pillar, the bottom is a bunch of these little like birds, like the source is birds, and then birds, are what take you to the afterlife, and birds go to heaven. And this right here is showing a better thing of Noma Playa. And the structures they built, because like I said, there's like 30 different structures. There's not just one.
So these pictures of the deities, I've actually been looking up the deities and looking for archaeological finds for 6,000 years ago or further back. And I'm trying to see if I could cross-reference, because I'm sure the belief was long beforehand.
Yeah,
I'm sure they didn't come up with this in modern time, but it looks like they rebranded the deities to look more human.
Well, like I said, that one in Africa, in Egypt, which Egyptian traditional religions. Oh, that's African. Hold on. Remember I showed you before about that figure? Yeah. I have art. I'll show you art, because that's easier. It has multiple things. So because I have a whole bunch of them together. Let me find it.
Why are you doing that? It's interesting because the idea. Oh, there it goes right there. Go ahead before I say what I gotta say.
Oh, look at that! Yeah. These are the different art forms.
Right. And so I think that, like I said before, this all sort of relates to Orion. Certainly this last one, the Egyptian ones, they say that's the god Min, and the god Min relates to Orion. They say that. So I'm assuming, since this stuff comes from Turkey and has very similar type of man holding his penis, that it's not unthinkable that that's also relates to Orion. And also, to me, the fact, like in Neville Corey, which I already showed you that one, he doesn't have arms.
Are
That
those like
actually,
the star groups on the last figure on the end? Is that those dots on it? Is that the like the star groups of
no,
Orion?
those are damage. That means someone damaged this figure. And I make
Oh,
it in
okay.
pink. When it's in pink, I appreciate your questions. When I make it in pink, it means they broke off the penis and they broke off the head and they don't know where it is. So I'm
Okay,
just
got it.
giving you a representation of a head that we know from a 5,000 something, I think 600 time figurine had that head. So I just stuck it on there and I'm assuming it could be something like that.
Okay.
So, and then his penis was broken off. So his penis stuck out. I don't know how long, but it stuck out and it has not been found. It's just a hole where the penis should be. Although the other figurine, smaller one, this right here is I think it's 5 feet tall or 6 feet tall. This one statue with the holding the penis. This other one is a little statue, which I think is like 12 inches long, has this huge erect penis. So, and it has broken off arms. It could have had arms. I don't know. But the ones in Jordan, which is the one next to it, doesn't have arms. And then there's one, another one in Jordan, not same one. Another one also doesn't have arms. The one in Neville Corey, the chest might be broken off, but it doesn't have arms. Then the one above it's from Neville Corey, doesn't have arms, but maybe had a lower body of some kind. Then there's another one at Göbekli Tepe, which has the erect penis without arms. So, and I think that's important because to me, I think that the not having arms closer relates actually to the constellation Orion, sort of, than having arms would do. So I think that they're making, in a sense, a closer representation of the thing that they're relating to. I'll try to find. I have art of it somewhere. Hold on. Yeah, as you see, I try to put a lot of different stuff together because I want people to be able to understand, not just directly, believe stuff that I think. Here's the Orion.
Could some of these be of sexual for husbands and wife? Some of those.
Well, I told you there certainly is a sky god and a sky mother or whatever, so a couple, so a sexual union. But Orion, see these dots, and see how the original concept does not have any
arms. Yeah, no arms.
No arms. Has a little belt, and also it doesn't show here, but has 3 dots that go down like a penis in the real structure, and thus it's a lot more reasonable to think that that structure would relate to why they're making these penises or thinking it's penises up in space.
Oh, and the shoulder width seems a lot wider, though, wouldn't it be?
Well, like I said, there's different. I'll show you another one. There's different archaeology stuff that makes me think that all this is related. It's not like, just as you see, I'm not just showing you one thing or from one area. I'm showing you
the bottom doesn't even look like it connects at all, right?
Well, like it's flat or whatever, and which is the figure has a penis and yet doesn't have any arms and doesn't have any other parts. It does seem like they're referencing something. If they move
the feet or the foot, if they move the foot up a little bit and put the other foot up there, then maybe there's something going on there. It will fit in.
You're trying to make it too much real, like accurate. It's as accurate as that's probably going to get.
Where you can move the legs around.
Man.
The point I'm trying to show you is there's it's referencing something.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what.
It's not like that they did thing for thing.
Yeah. There's no way you'll be able to do that.
But here's another picture. So look here, so you can see. So here's these standing figures all holding their penises. The ones in Turkey are all 11,000 to 10,000. And then the ones in Iraq at 5,500. The ones in Egypt at 5,500.
I see it now.
5,
Yeah.
right? And God men also, we know they said, this is Orion. We don't know if for all these other ones, we don't know. But we do know that all of them are doing very similar thing, similar ages. And if you see on the thing I show, the actual thing of Orion does have 3 little dots below his belt that could look like a penis.
Question.
Yeah.
Did they have the proper telescope or apparatus like we do today to see those stars underneath?
Yeah,
the
you
belt?
can see these with the eye, especially because back then they didn't have light pollution.
I mean,
that's what
those three stars on the bottom of the belt. I could see the belt. The belt is no problem.
No, you can see that whole thing, and if you ever out in the woods, you can see that at night, clear.
I mean, I never seen those 3 stars before.
You're in a city. You got a lot of light pollution, but that's why he's saying earlier that all they do is look at the sky. When you said earlier that that one group of people were traveling everywhere. No, people from different parts of the world was looking at that. And depending on what year it was, it meant something to them.
Right. That's correct. I agree. That's how I see it. Yeah. And there's more stuff that relates to that also. So like I was telling before, I think it comes from Turkey. And it relates to those people that were pastoralists with cattle, and so go to that other art that I have.
Which one was it? This? Wait,
no, the other one.
That's the one. This one right
there.
Here. Right.
So right there, 12,000 years ago, you have this is art on a pottery, which shows the snake on the side. I think that's the Milky Way. It's a shaman, I think, controlling the snake or using it supposedly to get to the afterlife, the heavens. And he's got, just like later in Egypt, has a cobra coming out of their head. He has some snake or something coming out of his head. And this right here on the upper left-hand side shows the region. So all these white dots are where these figurines from 1 to 7 are all found. And the area purple that circles them is actually where cattle was domesticated. So it shows they pretty much are all in the cattle domesticated area, a little bit in the sheep area because the blue is the sheep area. And then goats were domesticated in the red area, which is mainly Iran and some of Turkey. But it just shows that and then the fact that these people from this area go down into Africa and start a cattle cult when they are the ones that domesticated cattle from that area and have this similar supreme God idea. That's what I'm trying to show is I think there's a connection. And I also like the other, going back to the blog that I was showing, this is art that I made showing in Israel, they have like this standing figure, like some people say like a penis, 13,000 years old. And then there's before that is like a thing made with stones that's sort of arranged like a person, 14,000. So the ideas might be older, but certainly in Israel at 7,000 to 6,000, you see they make a pile of stones and they put one stone in the middle like a supreme deity, or they put 2 stones like the couple that I've talked about before. And then here's another one where they have looks like 3 deities and then connected to one. This may be this deity has 3 avatars or expressions on earth of itself, sort of like, the Christian God being 3 and yet 1. This may be what this is kind of representing. I don't know exactly, but it seems to be doing different stuff. And then there's an Asher. This is a piece of wood that's 6,520 years old, and it's arranged like it's in a little temple or something. And it is thought this is like a deity that's made, like a tree deity. Anyways, so just trying to show, and then these are different stone groupings from 9,000 to 8,000, and I show like the areas and stuff. And they feel that when it's big and fat, it's like a female, and when it's skinny and sort of longer, it's a male. So it just shows these are different groupings of possible deities. Like this here is two what they think could be female pairs. And then also this right here on the bottom left-hand side is showing like the arrangements they're found in. They're not just like found like randomly. They make things. And like I think it could be that they're showing different, like this bottom one, a supreme deity, and then 3 deities, and then a whole bunch of deities. It's possible. And like you said, how do we know? Well, we can only go by what later people are also saying. Well, we do know that in Israel, that they set up 2 stones, one with frankincense for the male stone, and what they believe is the Asher or female stone, they put cannabis. And it's 2,700 years old. And so it's like they're worshiping these 2 deities. Anyways, my point is, so the stones themselves, and then there's this right here is a chart that where someone has gone through and looked at all these stones and what's the biggest percentage. And so female deities at first have 40%. The male alone is only 11%, which would make sense because in the Sumerian, like you asked a question before about Sumerian religion, it starts off with the universe is created by a female deity who's self-created, and she then, who is the primordial waters, as I talked about, that she then is where all the other deities, in a sense, come out of. And also, the goddess Nut is considered to be the water or the night, in a sense, deity where things come out of, like the mound of creation, which will go towards looking real quick at African creation myths, just so you can follow along with what I'm saying. Because I know, or ancient Egyptian creation myths, because then you can understand what I'm saying. So ancient Egyptian creation myths, this picture is confusing for some people. This is the sun rising over, in a sense, the mound of creation, which is a 2-thing mountain like a bull's horns. And you see where it says here, the circular mound, excuse me, the goddesses pour out the primordial waters. And so the primordial waters, the reason it's a circle is because that's like representing like the whole cosmos or universe, in a sense, is water. And even though there's a lot of differences in ancient Egyptian, there's things that are very similar also. And one of the things that's the most common element, see, the different kinds of myths, the most common element is that, in a sense, the world has arisen out of a lifeless waters of chaos, which I remember I talked about, which is the primordial waters, or what some places call the cosmic waters. Or in the mythology thing we're going to go to, they call it the primary waters. All this is just different people's name for the same thing. And it's the goddess Nu, who is this, in a sense, primordial waters. And it's also something that's real important because the pyramids are related to this mound or first earth, primordial mound shape, which they call it a bimbin, which it later first starts as the madrasas, which are pre-pyramids, and then they stack the madrasas or stack these mounds to make like the step pyramid, which is considered to be relating to this in a sense, religious idea of the mound shape, which comes out of the primordial waters. And then later, when they make the sharp-sided pyramids, they put a little thing on top, which is the benben. And the benben, which I'll click on it, the benben is a pyramid mound. And that pyramid mound is relating specifically to the mound of creation. So you're here in the creation myth, the religion, the benben was the mound that rose out of the primordial waters of dew, and upon which the creator deity Autumn settled, which Autumn is the sun. So this is important because the benben stone is associated with the pyramids. So like I hear sometimes where people are like, oh, why did they build the pyramids? Let's just take the Egyptians' word for it. I don't know. They tell you that it's because of the mound of creation that came out of, which they call the primeval mound, came out of the waters, the primordial waters, which the whole universe they thought was. So we don't have to guess. They literally tell us. To me, I find it odd that people seem to have such a problem when it's literally spelled out.
The guessing part comes from people wanting to make money. They want other people to keep guessing, so they grift their ass in there to make money. The answers are right there, man. That's why
they're right here, man. It's like
most of the time, people they ask questions without even wanting to go get the answer. They want somebody else to give them the answer.
That's true, and that was said at the beginning that people don't really want to know. They don't. That's also why I don't have more fans. I say things people don't want to hear, like the answers. And I show how I'm getting these answers. I'm not just guessing, coming up with stuff. And also I'm trying to show you, that's what this whole video I wanted to do, was show you how I'm getting to these things. And then how you can follow along or then learn yourself. And so it says right here, the different creation accounts, this is talking about ancient Egypt, associated with the cult of a particular god in major cities in Egypt, and the different cities had different sort of creation myths. But to some degree, these represent, in a sense, similar things because every single one of them has a mound of creation. Every one of them. Even though they talk about different ways that happened. One starts with 8 gods and all these other things and snakes, but then it has a primordial mound.
They all start off with 8 gods. Even the doggone tribes start off with 8 gods. Well, it's like 8 gods everywhere.
It's a lot of information.
Like one thing says Autumn creates the world through masturbation. That's particular to Heteropolis or whatever. But still, in this myth, it still has the primordial mound, which it calls God Geb, and the sky or the primordial waters it calls Nut. But it still has the same things of the primordial mound. That I'm just saying. So you see that no matter if it changes some of the elements, which religions do, they change some of the things. And that's why you have to see what's this. They call it a mytheme, which is like the parts that don't really change. Like I'm going to do later today, I'm going to do with another guy, I'm going to talk about how humans are created from clay is all over the world, and then show how it relates, because the mytheme is that humans are created from clay. The stories that surround it are going to be different. Yoruba says it different places in the Middle East say it's different. But
Mexico says it's from corn.
Well, there's also in the Pacific Northwest, it says the great raven turned himself into dust, went into a glass of water, that's mud or clay, and then the woman drank it and gave birth to the baby raven. Anyways, my point is that you can hear it's a similar thing, that the stories give their own interpretations of this. But another one here, the Memphis, it's got a primordial mound. This stuff is different, yet not that different. And down here's another one, right? This is Thebes. Has a little different story you can read on it, but it says primordial mound at the beginning of time. So
I think we're going to have to do a part 2 because we're coming to an end. in a couple minutes here. It's that's a lot of information.
Right.
And
So real quick, so I'll go to the folklore database. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Yeah, I got tons of stuff. So it's a folklore
I
database,
could
which
tell.
is free. Oh, I could talk all day long.
Yeah, I know.
So the folklore database, which is free, which people should absolutely join and go check out. It has all these. So once you sign in, you get this, and it's free. So I'm just going to real quick show you. So it says culture. So like say you didn't know where to search. You just click on that thing that says cultures. And we say, okay, we want to look at Africa. And it says there's 400 and something in Africa. Then it gives you like, which area do you want to check out? Let's check out near Egypt. And then it says 26. Now it says 3, right? Then it gives you these 3 dots. If you look on this dot itself, you can, I got to go closer. Here, see the finger? And then it says Egypt, and then it says examine the motifs found here. So you can click this. It says me to log in first. So let me go back to that. So did it work? Did it on your side? Yeah, good. Oh, I guess maybe it didn't. Let me have to go.
Probably did a pop-up window.
I was reading.
I'll have to go do it again because it popped up here. Can you see that? Let me see. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to go again to Egypt, right? And you go close so that you can get. You want to get it till it gives a finger, and you click on it, and then it says examine motifs found here. And this tells you all these different ones. And you can click on any of these and it gives you, man, it keeps telling me to sign in again every time I go somewhere else. But anyways, I don't want to do that. But anyways, so you can click on A4. A4 is a type of a category of myths. And it gives you, this thing right here is just a brief summary of what the myth is about. The sun is a woman and the moon is usually male. Anyways.
Yep.
And
that's what trips up a lot of people is they always think the sun is male, but it's not always male.
A lot of people think the sun is female. But see, it says also here, sometimes it's also female. But anyway, but that's generally A6.
I meant female. A4. Yeah, that's what I meant. Female.
Yeah. So, but it shows you all these different myths you can go look up that all relate to that one little area that we found through the culture. There's a lot. You could be here all day long. But that's if you wanted to search. You didn't know where to search. You just wanted to search a culture. So I know I'm going to have to go out and then come back in. I'm going to go to a different one.
I was going to say that if we could do a part 2, we could start off from there and then we could continue on with that.
Yeah, we can do a part 2. No problem.
We definitely would want you back because you are a wealth of information.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Yes, definitely.
So over in the corner, how I usually search, like remember that was said A6. A6 is generally referring to this person who's a Russian mythologist in a sense, who's done like 30 years of research and categorized all the myths of the world to make it easier. And this free website puts all of his knowledge together in like a summary sort of stuff. So you would go down to A6 and you could figure out what it is. It tells you, see how that sometimes they have like A4A, A4B, A4E. See, sometimes these have multiple, not always. But see, it says right here, the sun and moon women. So it tells you different stuff and you can click on it and get more information. But going down to B, which is more the category I've been talking about the primordial waters. So I think is it B6? There it is. B3A or right above P3 in general. It says primary swamp. This is important because we don't have time, but like in the Zulu, it says that humans came from reeds. Well, the reeds themselves were in what they consider the primordial swamp. The primordial swamp is just a version of the primordial waters, just like in Egypt, where it has the mound that comes out. It's that the substance, in a sense, of the universe, in a sense, before things started happening, the pre-creation stuff. That's what the primordial or primary, it says primary swamp. It says, at first the earth was soft, resembling a swamp, because it's covered in water. And then see, it says B3A, primary waters. I don't know what this other number is, so I can't tell you, but there's A something. But the primordial waters are primary. I wish they would say it differently, like primordial, because there's no research I've seen that shows it as primary. It calls it cosmic waters, a primordial swamp, something, or primordial ocean, or primordial water. So I don't know why they call it. But remember, this is the person said it in Russian. Someone translated it to English, and then someone else then put it into this blog and simplified it. So that's sometimes why it's not, even though it's a lot of really good stuff, you have to understand this was originally in Russian and was translated. So sometimes it's kind of awkwardly, written or understood, but it's still good to understand. So I don't know if it'll let me, I have to log in again. So I'm gonna have to, it's hard to do this here. I'm gonna have to get a new screen, because I want to show you the motif itself, because then you can see how to use it. It's important because it allows you to then understand how B3A, how big it is all over the world. It's expressed in different religions. So let me see. Yeah, good. So we're on B. I clicked on B3A, and it says motif summary. The water is primary, but like I said, what they really mean is primordial. The earth is lowered in onto the water. This is just, by the way, this is one version. There's different versions of how that happens, because later in, this is B, in C, you have earth diver myths, which is where the land comes from the bottom of the ocean up into the over the water, in a sense, or from out of the water. But so you see, like it says here, which is just resembling the swamp. Like I said, Zulu mythology, which we don't have time to read, but Zulu mythology, this is what it's relating to the swamp. And then the earth is lowered on it. It's some, I think in Indonesia. And then there's some other places, and then see, and then the different one, version B3B, is initially the earth or the world as a whole was small size and grew into, the substance it is. And of course, that is on top of or in the water. And then B3C, the creator, having created land, lies down and rests. Anyways, this is just showing you a little bit, and you can click on each one of these and it gives you more information. But if you go down to the bottom here, it shows you the map of the dispersal of this idea. And you see it's not just in one area. It's all over, the world, in a sense. So that helps you if you wanted to research to understand how much impact is this idea. And then if you didn't know where all these places are, you can also look here, because then it shows you it's in 213 traditions to have primordial waters, and it lists all the different ones. So you could go read down, as you said, it takes a long time to research. You could grab one of them and then go and search that particular thing. But there's a whole bunch. And then
hey, do me a favor, highlight that you just did. Right click it.
Right click it.
Some should have popped up instead, search here, search for yeah, that's another way you could do it that people
right. Right. Well, in my thing, it did search it. It says Nuku Islands, which is in Papua New Guinea. Right. So, but right, correct. So I'm just showing you there's different things. And every time you click on one of these links, like say your specific one, or down here it says click to see a combination of all three. Down here, this other link, but all these are hyperlinks, so you're able to go and look at different things. And if you didn't know, you could start also by doing a narrative search, which I don't find these to be super helpful. I've tried them, or a meme search, which what I was talking about, like the idea of humans from clay. That's like what's considered a meme. So it allows you to look at either one or multiple myths compared to each other. And but anyways, there's a whole bunch of things. Well, we can talk more about it next time on how to use that website. I guess every time we'll have to go out and come back because it goes to different pages, but it's an important thing and it's a free tool. So to me, everybody should, if you want to understand mythology, man, that is a place that's free and it gives you information all over the world. And you can search it by culture, you can search it by myths, you can search it, and then understand deeper on how all this relates.
Nice.
Yeah. Perfect.
If you could send the link over in the comments or in the private chat, that'd be great.
Yeah, I already sent it, but but I can send it again.
No, I put it on. I put it in.
You remember it, right? I sent it to you.
Yeah, I put it in the description. I'll put it in the description when we end this. But yeah, that was awesome, man. Like I said, man, like, everything that I've came in the research in, everything that I've came to learn, it's all about just one supreme being, one God, whatever the case may be. And the belief from different cultures is the belief in how, their surroundings. I mean, you got their surroundings is what changed a lot of people's beliefs. Like that. This was good. I definitely love these discussions. I'm definitely gonna hit you up again for another one.
I'm looking forward to part 2.
Yeah, we'll have it either next week or the week after. We've been doing this is our fourth one right now. So yeah, I think it's our third or fourth one, something like that.
Or fifth.
I think our third. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, we've been doing this for a while. Great information. I'm just like you. What I like to do with AI and Wikipedia and all that, sometimes I'll take a book and I'll take some of those tabs that I have and I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, I'll ask it a question to see if it gives me the answer that's in the book. Just because the book is, because I have something on hand from a PhD or whoever recipient, and I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me, I'll just ask it a question, just trying to avoid, telling where I got the answer from. And sometimes they'll tell me they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I say, well, from this person, from this, source and this, that, and third, then it'll do a deeper dive and be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And it's just, I find all this stuff that we use for our research, you can read one book that says one thing, and then the next book you can read that changes the whole concept of it. And what I like to do as a person is, I'm just like you. Which one of these people who are saying these things in these books can back up what they say? What is their evidence? And did they present that evidence in that book? And if they didn't present that evidence in that book, then that's just word of mouth. And then I get that in the back of my head, and I know where and who said what, and they didn't have the backup. So yeah, that's important to have backup information, have your sources and everything. I'm about to end the end stream. I really appreciate it, Damien, man. You're always full of knowledge, appreciate bro. You always come with that great information. So I'm about to end it, and we'll do a side talk after this. It's going to do the little outro, but like I say always, knowledge is power.
I remember days in the trench. Time to go hard in, time to go all in, time to get my all to this shit. Panamera maxed out, first class flights out Atlantic to Pacific, yeah, it's lit.
Yo.